Thank you for joining me on the journey. This is Completed Christianity. So welcome back. Another episode of Being Complete. And today is Shabbat, our validation of the law commentary. And today we're going to talk about being subject to the law. But also in the scripture, we have that we're not under the law and that we're free from the law. So how can we be subject to the law? So we're going to clean that up. So let's jump over here and take a look at our verses. Get there. Okay. All right. And so Romans chapter 8. The last videos we dealt with Romans chapter 7. And in Romans chapter 7, he's talking about this battle in his mind and this war against sin, and that he's a wretched man, and who shall deliver him from this body of death? That he answers that question as Yahshua Messiah. And then he picks up here, which really should all be, the same idea, the same chapter. There is then now no condemnation to those who are in Messiah Yahshua, who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. For the Torah of the Spirit of the life in Messiah Yahshua has set me free from the Torah of sin and death. So there is now no condemnation for those who are in Messiah. So in him, the one who says he stays in him ought himself also to walk even as he walked. And he was a Torah observant, Sabbath keeping, kosher eating, tassel wearing Hebrew. So he followed these things. He kept these laws. The apostles did too. The evidence is in the New Testament. We just are taught to gloss over it. And the idea of doing that, as we talked about, did a whole series on it. The idea of doing that, it's Gnostic. It has its roots in Gnosticism, which was picked up by the Gnosticism that is present in the Catholic Church, which transferred into the Protestant Reformation and to our present day. And the evidence for that is in our playlist from the apostles to the church. Okay, so move on. Okay, for the Torah of the Spirit of the life in Messiah Yahshua set me free from the Torah of sin and of the Torah of sin and of death. So set me free. Okay, free from the law, under the law, subject to the law. We're going to get to subject to the law at the end of this. And so free from the law means that you're no longer under the law. But under the law means, when you're under the law, it means you're under its punishments. When you're set free from the law, then you're no longer under its punishments. Just like we talked about with speeding. You get a speeding ticket, now you're under the law. Okay? You weren't under the law before you got the speeding ticket. Okay? You were subject to the law at that point. You were subject to keeping that law. Okay? But now that you broke the law and you got a ticket, now you're under the law. You pay the fine, now you're set free from the law. Same thing here. Okay? We're subject to the law. Okay? And when we break the law, now we're under the punishments of the law. But through the blood of Messiah, now he pays the fine, we're set free, and now we're back to being subject to the law. You're free from the law does not mean you're free from being subject to the law. The law, there's no tick button to opt out, like I've said before. So for the Torah of the Spirit of the life in Messiah Yahshua set me free from the Torah of sin and death. For the Torah being powerless, in that it was weak through the flesh, the mighty one having sent his own Son in the likeness of the flesh of sin, and concerning sin condemned sin in the flesh, so that the righteousness of the Torah should be completed in us who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. So the righteousness of the Torah should be completed in us, okay? Because we are able to walk in righteousness because of the blood of Messiah. We believe in Messiah. We put on his righteousness. We do what he did, walk as he walked. Now we're not anymore walking according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. And so the Torah of Yahweh is perfect, bringing back the being, or converting the soul. So the Torah is perfect, okay? It said that, it was weak through the flesh, okay? Weak through the flesh. The Torah was being powerless. It was weak through the flesh, okay? But the Torah, it is perfect, converting the soul. The Torah of Yah is perfect, okay? So it's not the fault. Another verse says he found fault with them. He didn't find fault with his law. He found fault with them, because through the flesh, the keeping of the Torah was that it was weak through that. So he came in flesh because he wasn't weak. And so he came in flesh and he produced righteousness in human flesh. And that is what fulfilled the law. He fulfilled the law in that he produced righteousness in human flesh. And here, when he comes, the Spirit of truth, he shall guide you into all truth. So the Spirit, okay, he is the Spirit of truth. Okay, the Torah is perfect. The Spirit is the Spirit of truth. And it says he shall guide you into all truth. Right here, guide you into all truth. So what is the truth? Your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. Your law is truth. So the Spirit of truth is the Spirit of the law. The Spirit of the law. Okay? Your Torah is truth. The Spirit is the Spirit of truth. The truth is the Torah. The Spirit is the Spirit of the Torah. In the Torah, you're not to add to or take away. Do not add to the word which I command you, and do not take away from it, so as to guard the commands of Yah your Elohim, and which I am commanding you. Okay? And you'll walk after Yah your Elohim, and fear him, and guard his commands, and obey his voice, and serve him, and cling to him. Okay? Walk after him. Guard his commands. Okay, these commands here in these commands it's talking about here in Deuteronomy 13, it says that if someone teaches you any other way, that they're a false prophet. So if there's no turning away, there's no parting out the commandments. Okay, you don't say, "Oh, well, those we just do away with now. Those aren't for us." That has its roots in Gnosticism. So, for those who live according to the flesh set their minds on the matters of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit, the matters of the Spirit. For the mind of the flesh is death, but the mind of the Spirit is life and peace. Because the mind of the flesh is enmity or hatred toward the Mighty One. For it does not subject itself to the Torah of the Mighty One, neither indeed is it able. And those who are in the flesh are unable to please the Mighty One. So subject itself to the Torah of the Mighty One. The mind of the flesh does not subject itself. I did another video called "Do Christians Have the Mind of the Flesh?" They're not subjecting themselves to the Torah. They say, "Oh, well, I believe in doing good and feeding the poor or whatever." Yeah, that is part of it, but that is only part of it. It's just like if you take anything, any kind of rules based, and you're like, okay, we'll take that one out, and okay, we'll take that one out, and oh, I like this one, we'll put that one back in there. Now you got your own law. Okay, you've made it your own. It's not, in this case, it's not the Father's law. You made it your own law when you start picking and choosing and imparting and adding to. That's why the verse over here says, do not add to the word, okay? Because the word's perfect, okay? The word's perfect right here. The Torah of Yah is perfect, okay? So you don't add to it or take away from it because it's already perfect. These things just aren't going to be done away with or pass away or anything like that. He did it right the first time. He wasn't confused. He didn't figure it out along the way. Okay. For this is the love of the Mighty One, that we guard his commands. This is New Testament. This is the love of the Mighty Ones. We guard his commands. His commands are not heavy. That's what Christianity teaches. That, you can't keep the law. It's a burden. Well, just about most translations, I believe even King James, it says his commands are not burdensome. Or New King James, his commands are not burdensome. His commands are not heavy. Okay, this is also an idea partially quoted from Deuteronomy, that he says that this law is that it's not too difficult for you. Okay, for this is the love of the Mighty One, that we guard his commands. His commands are not heavy. The one who says, I know him, and does not guard his commands is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So if we say we know him, we need to understand his commands, keep his commands, be in his commands, which is to be in him, to be in Messiah. And thus then we're able to please him. Okay, please him. So this book of Romans, as we talked about, that it's the most legal book that we have. Okay, it's not legalistic as it's termed, it's legal. It tells us the legalities of what the Father expects us. Because Paul, he is a lawyer. Pharisees were lawyers. He says there's a Pharisee of Pharisees and a lawyer of lawyers. He knew this perfectly, back and forth. Okay, so please him. We're to please him. So when it's legalism, I heard one man recently talking about an associate of his, and said that he keeps the Sabbath. He does that legal. He's in that legalistic stuff. No, it's not legalistic to keep the Sabbath. If you're keeping the Sabbath for salvation, if you're keeping the Sabbath to be saved, or doing any other law to be saved, that's legalistic. That's legalism. That doesn't produce anything. It never has. It never changed. It's always been belief by faith, just like Abraham. It was righteousness was counted to him by faith, but because of that, he did all of the Father's laws. So pleasing him is different than salvation. But a lot of people's mindsets, and in Christianity, it's like, I only need to do what I need to do to be saved. I don't need to do anything more than that. A lot of people's mentality. So no, it's that to please him is to keep all his commands. To please him. So when we keep his Sabbath, his Shabbat, we please him. That is his appointment weekly to meet with us. It is a prophetic appointment for the millennial reign, the time when the kingdoms of this world become the kingdoms of our mighty one and his Messiah. This is that time. Okay, the Shabbat, it is his time, his appointment to meet with us. Okay, that pleases him. Okay, if you make an appointment to meet with somebody, does it please you if they show up and keep that appointment? Of course. Or would you rather be stood up? No. If you stood up, you're angry. So, please him. We're to please him. But legalism it does not please him, and that is legalism is circumventing his ways and his gospel. It's like, I'm going to do it my way by doing these things, by keeping the Sabbath. That's how I'm going to be justified. That's how I'm going to be saved. No, we're saved by belief in the atoning blood of Messiah and believing that his sacrifice is able to justify us. Psalm 89:34, my covenant I will not break nor alter the word that has gone out of my lips. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Comment down below. Comments of opposition are welcome. Just don't say anything dumb like we're not under the law. We're under grace because you've been taught to use that verse outside of the bounds of its intended context. Subscribe now. Smash that subscribe button and ring that bell so that you get notifications of all future videos.